Welcome back. For a woman, you can imagine having a miscarriage would be nothing short of a tragedy. But could it land her life in prison? Well, maybe if you live in the state of Utah. There, a new law could charge women for murder if their, quote, reckless acts lead to a miscarriage. Joining us now to discuss it is Anna North. She's in New York. She's a blogger from Jezebel. Now, Ms. North, we should mention this law still needs to be approved by the governor of Utah. Now, you wrote an article critical of the law, but should Utah have a right to legislate this?
Well, I think this comes up against women's fundamental right to do what they want to do with their own bodies, and especially in this case, it may run up against things women simply can't control. We're asking women not to miscarry their fetuses, and I think frequently women who accidentally miscarry could find themselves prosecuted under this law.
I mean, at the same time, though, this is a law in the state of Utah, and you're talking to us from, the comfort of New York City. You're not affected by this law. So what's the big deal? Obviously, the state legislature in Utah thought it was a good idea, so the people of Utah must want this.
Well, it's a complicated question whether the people in Utah want it. It hasn't been put up to a popular vote in the state of Utah. I do think that women across the country deserve all the same reproductive rights, and that women across the country deserve the right to choose, and in this case it really seems like an infringement of that right.
So what do you think this is really about? Do you think this is about punishing women for abortion?
Well, it's a complicated issue. I think that there is an element of trying to legislate women's behavior. People have been really angry about this and said things like the Utah legislature wants everyone barefoot and pregnant. I don't know that I would go that far, but it does seem that this is a legislature trying to control what women do in a pretty invasive way.
On the other hand, though, couldn't this bill allow prosecutors to charge people who kill pregnant women with more homicide charges? That would be a good thing.
Well, typically laws that, we're talking about personhood laws here, and laws that consider the fetus as a person for the purposes of criminal prosecution often are, in fact, in my opinion, laws that are really aimed at abortion and not at increasing criminal penalties for murderers. So I think that's what this is about, and not necessarily about simply imposing stiffer penalties, especially because this seems to be aimed not at someone who would hurt a pregnant woman, but at the pregnant woman herself.
What makes you say that? What specifically do you think makes this aimed at the pregnant woman?
Well, the law specifically states that it's a crime for a woman's own reckless act to cause a miscarriage.
Talk about reckless act, that language. What constitutes a reckless act?
Well, so apparently it could be anything that is known by others to induce a miscarriage. It could be something like not wearing a seatbelt when you're in a car. It could be something like falling down the stairs. Even more troublingly, it could be staying in an abusive relationship. There are a number of things that could potentially be deemed reckless, and I think that's one of the big problems with this law.
All right. Well, I want to thank you for weighing in and giving us your take on what could become a law in Utah.